She moved her ex into my $1.2 million penthouse without asking. So, I canceled the wedding and left her family homeless. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so you don't miss news stories. My fiancée told me that my $1.2 million penthouse was too small for just the two of us. I thought she wanted a nursery. Instead, she wanted to move in her ex-husband and his 3 kids because they were struggling. She thought I was too blinded by love to say no. She forgot that I don't just build skyscrapers. I know exactly how to demolish them without leaving a trace. My name is Mike. I'm a structural engineer. My world is built on load-bearing walls, stress tests, and blueprints. If a beam is off by a fraction of an inch, the whole building collapses. I apply that same precision to my life. Or at least, I thought I did until I met Emma. Emma was like a high-end architectural marvel, beautiful, elegant, and seemingly perfect. We had been together for 2 years. I had spent nearly $80,000 on an engagement ring that looked like a small planet. I had also just finalized the purchase of a $1.2 million penthouse in the city. It was my crowning achievement. The trouble started on a Tuesday night. We were sitting on the floor of the empty penthouse, drinking expensive champagne, looking out at the city lights. "Mike," she said, her voice dropping that sweet, manipulative tone I now recognize as a warning sign. "This place is amazing. But it's missing soul. It's missing family." I smiled, thinking she was finally ready to talk about kids. "I agree. We have plenty of room for a nursery." She didn't smile back. She set her glass down and looked at me with a cold, businesslike intensity. "Not a nursery. My sister is losing her house, and my ex, Mark, well, he lost his job again. The kids are living in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment. It's heartbreaking." I froze. "Mark? Your ex-husband? Why is he your responsibility?" Emma stood up and started pacing the hardwood floors. "He's the father of my nieces and nephews, Mike. Family helps family. I've already told them they can have the 2 guest wings. Mark can use your home office since you're always at the construction sites anyway. It's non-negotiable. I already gave them the spare keys today." The champagne turned to ash in my mouth. "You gave your ex-husband keys to my penthouse? Without asking me?" "I'm not asking, Mike," she snapped. "I'm informing you. We're getting married in 3 weeks. What's yours is mine. And right now, my family needs a home. Either you're a man who supports his wife, or you're a selfish prick. Which is it?" She walked out, slamming the door so hard I felt the vibration in the floorboards. She thought she had me. She knew I had already paid the non-refundable $150,000 wedding deposit at the plaza. She knew the house was in the final stages of closing. She thought I was load-bearing, that I would take the weight of her entire failed past and carry it on my shoulders just to keep her. But Emma made one fatal mistake. She assumed my love was a structural weakness. In reality, it was just a temporary scaffolding. And I was about to tear it down. I didn't follow her. I didn't beg. I sat in the dark of my $1 million cage and realized that Emma wasn't a partner. She was a parasitic drain on my infrastructure. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. "Hey, Marcus. It's Mike. Remember that prenuptial agreement we were drafting? Scrap it. I need a total asset dissolution plan instead. And I need it done in 20 days. The demolition had begun. Emma came home the next morning acting as if she had already won. She hummed a tune while making avocado toast, occasionally mentioning where Mark's ergonomic chair would fit best in my oak-paneled office. "I'm glad you've come to your senses, Mike," she said, leaning over to kiss my cheek. She smelled like expensive perfume and entitlement. "Mark is actually a great guy. He's just had bad luck. You'll see, having the kids around will make the penthouse feel like a real home." I didn't flinch. I just sipped my coffee and looked at my iPad, which was pulled up to a budget spreadsheet. In reality, I was looking at the penalty clauses for every contract we had signed for the wedding. "You're right, Emma. I said, my voice as flat as a concrete slab. Family first. If we're doing this, we need to do it right. I'll need to put in extra hours at the firm to cover the increased utility bills and groceries. 5 extra people is a lot of overhead. Her eyes lit up. She thought she had broken me. That's my man. I'll tell Mark he can start moving the heavy boxes into the guest wing storage tomorrow. As soon as she left for her bridal spa day, I went into high gear. As an engineer, I know that if you want to take down a structure safely, you don't use a wrecking ball, you use surgical explosives at the foundation. We had a joint account for the house and wedding fund. I had contributed $220,000 to it over the last year. Emma had contributed exactly $1,400. I called the bank. Since the account was either / or signature, I didn't need her permission. I moved $218,600 into a private offshore trust account I'd set up months ago for my firm's international projects. I left exactly $1,400 in the account. Let her buy a very expensive consolation prize with that. I called my realtor, Sarah. Sarah, I'm exercising the personal hardship exit clause on the penthouse purchase. Mike? You'll lose the $120,000 earnest money deposit. That's a massive hit. It's cheaper than a lifetime of alimony in a house full of squatters. I replied. Do it. But keep the cancellation quiet. Don't notify the secondary contact, Emma, until the very last legal minute, which is 48 hours before the scheduled closing. I decided to do some forensic engineering on Mark. If Emma was so desperate to bring him into my life, I wanted to know exactly who I was hosting. I hired a private investigator. By that evening, I had a PDF that made my blood run cold. Mark didn't just lose his job. He was fired for embezzling from his last firm to cover gambling debts. And the sister, who was losing her house. She wasn't losing it. She had already sold it and moved to Florida. Emma was planning to use my guest room as a luxury Airbnb for her friends while Mark lived off my paycheck. The audacity was breathtaking. They weren't just looking for a home, they were looking for a host. I spent the rest of the week playing the doting groom. I went to the tuxedo fitting. I smiled at the florist. I even let Emma show me pictures of the $12,000 Italian leather sofa she had ordered on my credit card for Mark's lounge area. What she didn't know was that I had already called the furniture store and redirected the delivery to a warehouse I rented for a month. On the 10th day, Emma's ex-husband, Mark, actually had the nerve to call me. Hey, Mike. Emma said you're being a real team player. Listen, I've got a vintage pool table. It's a bit bulky, but I think it'll look killer in the living room next to your piano. We'll need to move your piano to the basement storage, though. Hope you don't mind. I gripped the steering wheel of my car until my knuckles turned white. Whatever makes the family comfortable, Mark. I'm all about the foundation. Great. See you at the move-in on Friday. I hung up and smiled. Friday wasn't going to be a move-in day. It was going to be a total structural failure. The morning of the move-in arrived. Emma was a whirlwind of energy, wearing a wifey t-shirt and barking orders at the movers. Mark, her ex-husband, arrived in a beat-up truck, looking exactly like the parasitic liability the private investigator had described. He didn't even shake my hand. He just pointed at the penthouse entrance and told his kids to start picking out their rooms. Mike, honey, Emma chirped, checking her reflection in her phone. Mark's truck is double parked. Can you go down and handle the building manager? And don't forget, the caterer for the housewarming / pre-wedding party needs to be paid by noon. I've got it all under control, Emma, I said. I'm going to the office to finalize the final paperwork. I'll meet you back here at 4 p.m. for the big reveal. I walked out, but I didn't go to the office. I went to the coffee shop across the street and opened my laptop. It was time to trigger the charges. I sent a blind copy email to all 200 wedding guests, the venue, the florist, and the photographer. Subject: event cancellation, wedding of Mike and Emma. Due to irreconcilable structural integrity issues, the wedding is cancelled. Please do not show up at the plaza. All deposits have been forfeited. Best, Mike. My phone immediately began to vibrate. I turned it on silent and placed it face down. I called the furniture company. The $12,000 sofa Emma had ordered for Mark's man cave was already being loaded onto a truck, not to the penthouse, but to the consignment warehouse I had arranged. I also called the credit card company and reported my card as lost. All of Emma's pending bridal beauty charges were instantly frozen. I sent a single text to the building manager. I have officially withdrawn my offer on Unit 42B. The purchase is void. Please escort the unauthorized individuals currently inside the unit off the premises immediately. I have already authorized the sheriff's department to assist with the trespassers if necessary. Then, I drove back to the penthouse. I didn't go inside. I parked my car half a block away and watched. At 4:05 p.m., the explosion happened. I saw Mark's kids run out of the lobby first, looking confused. Then came Mark, carrying a box of his vintage sports trophies, arguing heatedly with two large security guards. Finally, Emma emerged. She was hysterical. She was clutching her phone, screaming into the void, looking around the street for my car. I stepped out of my vehicle and walked toward them. The silence between us was heavier than a skyscraper's foundation. Mike! Emma shrieked, running toward me. The building manager is insane. He says the sale was cancelled. He says we're trespassing. Tell him he's wrong. Tell him who you are. I looked at Mark, who was standing there with a smug look that was rapidly fading into fear. I looked at the kids, used as pawns in Emma's game. Finally, I looked at Emma. He's not wrong, Emma, I said, my voice perfectly calibrated. I ran the numbers. The load-bearing capacity of this relationship was designed for 2 people. You tried to add 5 more without a permit. The structure couldn't hold. So I demolished it. What are you talking about? She gasped. The wedding. The house. You spent hundreds of thousands. I spent $158,000 to be exact, I replied. That's the cost of the earnest money and the wedding deposits. Think of it as a demolition fee. It's a lot of money, but compared to a lifetime of supporting your ex-husband while I sleep in my own guest room? It's the best investment I've ever made. Mark stepped forward, trying to look intimidating. You can't do this, man. We sold our furniture. We have nowhere to go. Actually, Mark, I said, pulling out a folder. You didn't sell your furniture. You hid it in a storage unit in Jersey. I know about the gambling debts. I know about the embezzlement. And Emma, I know your sister is actually sipping cocktails in Miami with the money she made from her house sale. Emma's face went white. The wifey shirt now looked like a cruel joke. You're a monster, she whispered. No, I said, turning back toward my car. I'm a structural engineer. And I just cleared the site for a better project. The weeks following the controlled demolition were a hurricane of phone calls, legal threats, and social media drama. Emma tried everything. She posted photos of her and Mark's kids sitting on their suitcases on the sidewalk, calling me a heartless villain and an abuser who abandoned a family. She didn't realize that in the digital age, a structural engineer keeps better records than a librarian. Every time she posted a lie, I simply responded with a screenshot, the lease she tried to forge, the PI report on Mark's gambling debts, and the bank statement showing I left her exactly what she had contributed to our joint life, $1,400. The public sympathy evaporated instantly. People love a tragedy, but they hate a scammer even more. I'm sitting in a much smaller, but much more stable apartment. It's a sleek, modern 2-bedroom. One room is my sanctuary. The other is a high-tech home office where the door actually has a fingerprint lock. No ex-husbands, no man caves, and no non-negotiable demands. I lost a total of $158,000 in non-refundable deposits and earnest money. To some, That sounds like a failure. To me, it was the freedom tax. I look at my bank account and see the $6,500 check that just arrived from the consignment shop, the proceeds from selling that white leather sofa Emma loved so much. I'm going to use that money to buy a high-end rowing machine and a very expensive bottle of scotch. Where are they now? From what I've heard through the grapevine, and a few final desperate emails from Emma's burner accounts, Emma, her influencer lifestyle collapsed when she realized she actually had to pay for her own hair appointments and spa days. She's currently living in a cramped studio apartment, working 2 jobs to pay off the credit card debt she racked up trying to maintain appearances. Her sister, in Miami? She stopped answering Emma's calls the moment the money dried up. Mark, the financial genius, tried to pull one last scam. He took the small amount of cash Emma had left and tried to double it at an underground poker game. He lost it all in 2 hours. Emma finally kicked him out, and last I heard, he's back to living on a friend's couch, still talking about his vintage pool table that I actually had hauled away to a junkyard. The kids, they are back with their mother, Mark's other ex-wife, who is actually a decent person. I sent an anonymous donation to their school's lunch program. They were pawns in a bad game, and they deserve better than the home Emma was trying to build on my back. The conclusion: last night, I went back to the site of one of my firm's skyscrapers. I stood at the base of the massive steel structure and looked up. It's solid. It's honest. It doesn't pretend to be something it isn't. I realized then that Emma thought I was weak because I was kind. She thought my stability was an invitation to exploit me. She mistook my silence for submission. But as any engineer will tell you, the quietest parts of a building are often the strongest. They are the ones holding everything up. And if you try to compromise the integrity of the foundation, the only thing left to do is clear the lot and start over. I'm Mike. I build things that last. And this time, I'm building a life that doesn't require a demolition fee. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so you don't miss out on new interesting stories.